Hello. I am so excited to make this video. Um, as you've probably noticed if you watch my channels, I am a huge Harry Potter nerd. I love Harry Potter. It's one of my favorite books. Well, it's one of my favorite stories, I guess you could say. Yeah, and I love the world so much. And G over at Bookroast created this really awesome readathon for the month of April, and it's essentially the magical readathon O.W.L.s edition. And the O.W.L.s, if you're unfamiliar with Harry Potter, is the outstanding wizarding levels that the students at Hogwarts take. And then there's in this readathon there's 3 passes and 3 ways to fail. And there are 12 prompts to coincide with the 12 exams that the students take in the Hogwarts world. And so it's freaking awesome. So if you want more information, or if you want to join us or find a list of the prompts on your own, I will link G's channel down below with her announcement video. And yeah, this is a really easy, slow-paced readathon. It's for the whole month of April, so you have from today, April 2nd, to April 31st to read these books. You can pick or choose which prompt you want. You can do it like Chi did, where she picked, she kind of picked what her career in the wizarding world would have been, and took the exams that would have coincided with that kind of career. Or you can just be like Hermione and just take them all and just read 12 books in the month. Which is what I did. I go ahead and picked books for all 12 prompts. I'm probably not going to get to all of them. If I do, amazing. If I don't, that's fine. My goal is at least 5, because that is the outstanding pass. If you sit for 5 exams, so if you read the book and finish them, you will get an A++ on your O.W.L.s, and so that is my goal. So I do have 14 books to go through, and I know you're thinking, if there's 12 prompts, why do I have 14 books? Well, two of these prompts on here, I put 2 books in it because the books I chose, I'm already halfway through this one book in the series. So anyway, I'll explain that when I get to them. So without further ado, I'm going to tell you my magical O.W.L.s readathon TBR. So for prompt number 1, which is Ancient Runes, it's to read a book with a symbol on the cover. So for this one, I chose the Themis File series. I'm literally a little less than halfway through the first book. These are really easy reads. The format is in completely files and interviews, so this will be an easy read. So I'm also going to tack on the second book, Waking Gods, in the Themis File for this prompt, because I also need to read this for the BookTube SFF Awards, and it's a library book, and I'll have to go back soon. So I'm going to read these 2 books for that prompt. And so that leads me to the second prompt, which is arithmancy. Anyway, which is to read a book with a number on the cover or in the title. For this prompt, I've chosen to go with the second book in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, and that's The Drawing of Three. And I thought the first book was okay, but I really want to continue with it, so I'm gonna start on the second series, which this is kind of really the only book that I own that really has a number in it. So yeah, so I'm going to read that. The third prompt is astronomy, and that is to read a sci-fi novel. So I chose to read Born, which is also on the BookTube SFF awards. So I do need to get this read before June so that I know what books to vote for. And this sounds amazing, right up my alley. So I'm really looking forward to starting this. So for exam number 4, it's Care of Magical Creatures. And this one includes a magical creature in the stories or features a magical creature on the cover. For this one, I chose The Cruel Prince. And I do have the dust jacket. It's over there somewhere. But I didn't finish this for the Hot Mess Readathon or the Hot Mess Book Club. But what I did read of it, it was really good, and I love Holly Black, so I definitely want to read this. And of course, this is about fairies, which is a magical creature. So, yeah. So for the next exam, it is Charms, which is to read a fantasy book. For this one, I chose City of Brass, which is another BookTube SFF Awards nomination, so I need to read this. Plus, I got it from Page Habit, which has the annotations, so that's exciting. I have been wanting to read this for quite a while now, so I'm excited to finally get around to it. The next exam is Defense Against the Dark Arts, which is read a book featuring Secret Society. And for this one, I chose The Vesuvius Club by Mark Gatiss. This book, from what I understand, follows a man by the name of, what's his name? Lucifer Box. And he's kind of a spy. Like, I get the feeling he's like a, I don't even know when this is set, but like an old English version of James Bond. So he's this really enigmatic and kind of a Casanova of spies, and he has to infiltrate this secret society to find out who is killing all these scientists. So that's interesting, and it has a secret society. So yeah. So the next exam is Divination, which is to read a book featuring prophecies. So for this one, which is going to be my only reread, I'm going to reread Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. The TV show should be coming out fairly soon. I know they're still filming, but this is essentially about the end of the world. There's a lot of prophecies and omens and things of that sort. So I'm going to read this for this exam. The next exam is Herbology, which is to read a book with nature-related word in the title. And so I'm going with a book that literally has nature in the title. and that is The Lost Art of Reading Nature's Signs by Tristan Gooley. And this is kind of just a basic refresher course in how to use outdoor clues to find your way, to predict weather, locate water, and track animals and other forgotten skills. And it's really, really cool. And I got this for my birthday this year. So I got this for my birthday last year. So it's really time to finally read it. And so the next exam is going to be History of Magic, which is to read a historical fiction. And I chose to read The Accursed by Joyce Carol Oates. And this is kind of a fantasy version of the 20th century in Princeton, New Jersey. I'm not entirely sure exactly what's going on, but this is going to be interesting. I've been meaning to read some Joyce Carol Oates for a long time now, and this really fits in with one of the prompts, so I'm going to read this. Hopefully. It's a massive book. I think it's well over, it's 663 pages. 663 pages. So this, I'm going to attempt it, but if I don't get to this, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. So the next exam is Muggle Studies, which is to read a nonfiction book. And this is another one that I've had on my shelves for a very long time that needs to be read, and that is The Elephant Company. I'm not sure if I remember too much about what this book is about, but it's about during the war in 1920 in Burma, these British, I think they're British soldiers used the elephants to move supplies around, I believe, and this is kind of the story of that adventure of sorts. So I'm going to read this. It has elephants in it. I adore elephants. They're my favorite animal in the world. So that needs to be read. The next exam is Potions, which is alchemy, which is to read a book with alchemy in it. I have decided to also set up a 2-book for this because I am more than halfway. Oh, no. Yeah, I'm about a quarter of the way through this book. Actually, yeah, I'm only a third of the way through this book, so I may just read this book for this exam. I thought I was much farther than that, but this is the second book in the All Souls trilogy. And it fits this exam because Diana, who's the main protagonist, is on the search for an alchemical test in the first book, and it has sort of basically the whole, I can't go too much into this without spoiling the first book, but basically this whole series is about Diana and Matthew's forage into finding this alchemical text that may or may not have repercussions and knowledge of life. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But this is an amazing series. I can't wait to finish it. This is also becoming a television adaptation, and I am so excited for it. So I'm going to definitely read this. If I happen to get through this pretty quickly in the month, then I will also add the last book, the third book, the Book of Life in the series to that, but I'm somewhat doubtful now that I will be able to do that. So I may add the Book of Life to next month's reading challenges. So the last exam is Transfiguration, which is to read a book that deals with transfiguration or shapeshifting or anything of that theme, or a book with a cat on the cover. So this one was a little bit hard for me. I wasn't too sure what I was going to do, but then I decided that I'm going to read Anno Dracula. Basically, I'm going to say that when you're infected with vampirism, you, of course, transfigure into a vampire. So you're no longer human, so you've changed the state of your species to a vampire. So I'm going to read this for that exam. And Anno Dracula by Kim Newman is basically a kind of reimagining about Dracula, where in the story of Dracula, where he's killed, where Dracula is eventually killed by I can never remember names, by Van Helsing. How could I forget that? Anyway, Dracula is killed by Van Helsing in the story Count Dracula, but this is a reimagining that what would happen if Count Dracula was not killed by Van Helsing, and instead he sort of created a whole race of vampires, and now they're living amongst the people, and this is kind of a speculative fiction on that. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. So that is my TBR for my OWL exams. If you are participating, please let me know. I'd love to see your TBR and follow along on your readathon throughout the month of April. If you've read any of these books or you just want to talk to me about them, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm very excited to start this TBR and see what everyone else is reading. And thank you so much to G for creating this amazing readathon. And yeah, that's it. If you like what you see, please hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of it, go ahead and Go ahead and subscribe to me. I don't have a schedule for videos, but I try to keep them coming somewhat frequently. If you have any suggestions on videos I should do or anything of that sort, again, leave a comment down below. And that will be all for today. Bye.